Hello and welcome to GatherVerse Summit 2026 Day 2, and it's great to have each and every one of you with us. We have an amazing roundtable coming up with us. Nolwenn, Stefan, Don, Anar, so many fantastic people. But on this roundtable discussion, we're going to be talking about innovation and obligation, the duties of those who build. This is going to be a very interesting discussion, very insightful, and I'm very excited to be having this discussion with each and every one of you. Now, panelists, if I could just ask you to make sure that you mute your microphones once you finish talking each time, just so that we don't get feedback or disruption or anything like that. That'd be very much appreciated. And our audience, this is going to be such a we're going to be here for the next 50 minutes or so, having so much interesting discussion about innovation and obligation. So what we're going to do is we're going to do quick introductions. We're going to go to Nolwenn, Stefan, Serini, Don, Anar, and Kat, and then we'll get into the questions. So Nolwenn, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Russell. Hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be with you today. Who I am is very hard to question, to be fair. But what I can explain to you, it is I am a woman in tech since 20 years. I started my career in data center market. I work in industry, in airports, in buildings, so many different approach and sectors. Now I have my own company, so HAIDO, and we support all other company, especially SME, to lead the transition. So we create with them their vision, their strategy, action plan, to be sure that we align and exist in 20 years, next 20 years. That it is our aim, because we're an emergent technology. So from low tech to deep tech. So sometimes it could be strange, but yes, this is who I am and with my team.
Nolwenn, you do so much stuff. Every time I speak to you, I just seem to learn more and more about you. But anyway, thank you for joining us, Nolwenn. Stefan, great to see you once again. Please introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are.
Hey, everybody. I'm Stefan Youngblood. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. I always like to put this out there that I have 3 kids and 5 grandkids. So I come into this place with a different angle sometimes than some founders. I run the National AI Literacy Center as well as the Black AI think tank. And we're developing HBCU.ai right now as this unbelievable interface between humans and agents. Very excited about that. And I basically help to develop ecosystems for the underserved and underrepresented community. I do this full time, all the time. And I also run a nonprofit that works with the homeless right in Raleigh. And I help to integrate technology even into that right now. So I love this part. I love being involved with this life and bringing humanity and compassion to this space. So thanks for having me here.
And Stefan, it's great to see you as always. And once again, great to have you on board with us. Serini, please introduce yourself. I hope you don't mind me calling you Serini. It's just so much easier for me to say, but I will change that if you need me to. But please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Russell. I was wondering from our last roundtable whether you can catch my name. This time you did it correctly. So I'm glad. Okay, yeah. Greetings, everyone. And my name is Srini. I'm director of technology portfolio at SPL Consulting. We do a lot of cloud and AI implementation across different clients. I'm passionate about technology. That's one of the reasons why I'm here, to share my ideas and also learn a lot from you. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, when we last spoke, Serini, you had so much interesting insights that you shared last time. So I'm excited to hear more from you again on what you want to share this time. Don, please introduce yourself and also welcome to GatherVerse.
Hi, I'm Don Carson. I'm the Senior Art Director at Mighty Coconut. We're the producers of the very humble Walkabout Mini Golf, which is a virtual reality miniature golf game. Our little game is mini golf only on the surface. Really, the reason we created it is as an opportunity to get humans all over the world to get together and socialize within the context of a story-driven environment. My background is both in theme park design and virtual world design, and we're just making places for people to reconnect with other human beings.
Absolutely, such an important part that you play there, Don, and thank you so much for being with us as well. Anar, please introduce yourself as well, and also welcome to GatherVerse.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Anar, and I'm a head of product at Polygraph AI. We're building a suite of AI security products, and we're targeting sensitive environments to basically help them integrate AI without the risks of AI. So yeah, it's a great pleasure to be here. Thanks.
And it's great to have you with us as well. And it looks like we've lost one, but never mind. I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Russell. I am the co-founder of Just Verify and also Global Affairs Director at GatherVerse. Let me just get my words right. And at Just Verify, we're focused on building the trust infrastructure for AI. We're focusing on allowing individuals and companies to have a verifiable way in which they're able to trust AI in a nutshell. And we continuously verify how the models behave and perform, etc., and giving you that first-hand evidence so that you can choose on what you want to trust and not. And Kat King, please introduce yourself and also welcome back.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, hi everybody. I'm Kat King, and I am the creator and producer of a sci-fi XR project called Glass Stars, and I'm also building an AR companion system for that called Perceptor, which is focused on perception support and cognitive safety. If you don't already know who I am at all, let me just tell you right now, I'm a disabled Army veteran. I live with treatment-resistant schizophrenia. That includes chronic psychosis, hallucinations, visual, tactile, all kinds, all manner of them. I've lived with it for over half my adult life now since leaving the military. And so when we talk about trust in technology, I started off my whole life as a writer, theater, drama kid, and then I joined the Army, and it changed the way I perceive. It just shifted my whole perception of the world, of course. I was very young. So when we talk about immersive technology, I'm not speaking abstractly at all. I'm speaking of from a place of lived experience where I understand what it feels like when perception shifts without your consent. And so for me, the glass...
Kat, I'm just going to jump in because we will get around to the questions and into the discussion. Don't worry.
Sure. No worries.
But obviously, we want to know who you are, Kat. And, by the way, I will say this. We really appreciate your service as an Army veteran and what you have done in your services in general. So we really appreciate that. And thank you for also joining us today. And we will get into those discussions. Don't worry, we'll come back around to you and we'll get into the discussion very shortly. So let's get into the first question. So question one, how do cost infrastructure or accessibility quietly exclude capable builders, and how can that be addressed? So Nolwenn, we'll start with yourself. Since you have over 20 years of almighty experience, more than I have in my lifetime. So please tell us, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so thank you. So first of all, we should define one thing, what is innovation? Because there's different approach about innovation. We have tech innovation, and including in tech innovation, we have low tech, high tech, deep tech. We have incremental or disruptive innovation. So it's not the same approach and the same thing. And then you have social innovation, process innovation. So when we discuss about obligation, first we have to know which kind of innovation we discuss. And that is just to give you. Me, I am a woman in tech. Clearly, I am more about, and I know more this market about tech innovation. I will take my life, as an example. So as I said, it is 20 years I am in data center market, in a UPS market at the beginning. And then energy efficiency and all things around that, and we do produce that. To be fair, it's not very easy to enter in this market when you produce some product for this market, like GPU, like servers, like that, because you have different law, national law, international law, so that it is entry barriers. Some people can be frustrated because it seems like a market very only for big company, to be fair. But in the same time, it is to secure the system. So when you discuss about trust, we have to understand norms and standards. They're not here to block everybody. It's just to be sure the system will be enough robust And especially in data center, because in data center market, we have different tier. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. It's not the same if you are in hospital, or if you're in finance market, or if you're only a small company. We don't need the same redundancy. So when you are in this market, especially, we have plenty law and norms, and you have to understand the global ecosystem. So if you want to go on this market, the first thing you have to do, it is to understand the global ecosystem of this market, because if you don't do that, you will never enter this market. So it means understand the association, understand the law in your continent, but also the law in Russia, the law in Europe, the law in China, because on your product, you have to write something and you have to make some tests. If you don't make this test, it will be never possible to sell your product on another country. So,
Okay.
and so I think I will give you another example. So that is my.
I'm going to jump in, Nolwenn, because I want to kind of realign to a bit more towards the question. I understand what you're saying. You have a very, very good point. But when we're talking about, how does the cost of infrastructure or accessibility quietly exclude the builders, and how is that addressed? I'm assuming you're getting to a point there, but I just kind of want to realign it and say towards this question. How do we answer that? How do we with the cost of infrastructure and accessibility, how do we solve that? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. So if you want to invest, it is investment, but it is a long-term investment.
Okay.
So it's very long-term investment. So you don't think it's not possible to imagine your ROI will be in the next 3 years when you develop a product in this kind of market. It's because it's not apps. It is physical product. Okay.
So that was the point before. Okay, I understand.
Yeah. So me, I launch many products. So, but physical product, and in this product we can have some software, something like that. But at the beginning, it is hardware product. So it's very specific. It's not the same approach. It's not the same business model also. And sometimes people, when they try to sell the hardware product, they don't understand the cost, especially due to hardware business, because they imagine it is the same as apps. And we do Scrum and do something. No. We have manufacturing, we have logistic, we have CCC. So the cost is very high, to be fair.
No,
so
that makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah.
And give you another example with startup. So in Europe, I met them 1 month ago. In Europe, when you launch a new product, IoT product, okay, you have to follow a norms. It is Cyber Resilience Act, okay. If you don't follow this regulation, it will be not possible to launch your product in Europe.
Correct.
So when you develop new product, when you discuss about innovation, you have to consider all aspects, not only your product. Oh yes, it's a good idea, we'll do that, and we have all of our use case. You have to integrate in your business plan all finance costs linked to the test and link the infrastructure.
Correct. It needs to be aligned when it comes to compliance, for sure.
Yeah. It is for the compliance, and it is thanks to compliance we have trust on the product.
Correct. Kat, I want to bring this question over to you, and thank you, Nolwenn, for sharing your thoughts there. Kat, I want to bring you on this conversation because obviously you just briefly mentioned about trust and stuff like that, but I kind of want to give you like a different question, Kat, which is, how can diversity of perspective strengthen responsible innovation from your point of view, Kat? Because you have a very unique background and a very different aspect and perspective from a lot of other people. So, what are your thoughts on that, Kat?
Thank you for the question. It's a great question. I think really from my point of view, it just is about actually kind of will tie in with what our other guests are saying, our panelists are saying already, which is that trust will come through compliance and law, but if the law doesn't include people like me, people who have perceptual disturbances, and I'm not the only one. I mean, perceptual disturbances can affect people who don't have schizophrenia. Anybody can really be affected by psychosis, and sometimes the intensity of the systems that I have already experienced, like, I love gaming, I love film, I love all of that fun stuff, but I also know that there are certain systems that my cognitive system up here can't really handle. So the question will always come down to, for me, first of all, I'm just the average day, everyday person here. I was homeless, so when Stefan introduced himself, I was like, I have had the experience of who can afford that hardware, who has the internet that can support that hardware or that headset. The headsets cost hundreds of dollars. I don't have money for that. And how do they serve to help me stay grounded in the objective world around me when there's already so much visual noise? So from that perspective, I just know that it's important that we think about who can afford it, who has access, who has a safe space to experiment, and who has the time that's not already consumed by survival. When as an American citizen, I can tell you right now, there's been a lot of reporting on the average American can't afford a $300 emergency.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
I'm one of those people. So until recently, when the VA approved me for disability compensation after all that time, I couldn't have come to any of those conferences. I couldn't have flown out to LA, or I'm in Seattle, and I couldn't have flown anywhere to come speak at any of these events. I'm so grateful to GatherVerse for hosting this online and giving me the access to be able to speak here today. So if we want broader, the question is, who is it for? Who is this all for? And if it is to try to reach the most people as quickly as possible, we've already failed, because so much of our technology isn't reliable. I have to use ChatGPT or LLMs to help me communicate in writing a lot of the time, but coherently. So when it comes back to trust and compliance and laws, you're absolutely right when you say, oh yeah, it depends on what the law is in Russia, and it depends on what the law is in South Korea, and they could be completely different. And a lot of it will come back to who are they leaving out of their compliance laws? Whose people, who are the minority or marginalized groups whose these laws are not supporting or uplifting or acknowledging that we exist, and that if we start just painting our surroundings with all this new visual noise, especially with augmented reality, which I use, I feel like we just have to be careful and mindful about who we're impacting with this technology. And I do see disclaimers. I see disclaimers, but the disclaimers are long. They're wordy. It's all legal jargon that the average person with an 8th grade education in the United States isn't going to A, sit still for to pay attention to, and B, it's just so long and complicated. So it's at the corporate level, at the nonprofit level, everybody has to ask ourselves, what are we doing this for? Who is it for? And then grant pathways that don't require elite institutional backing. Allow people like me to come to the table and share some of the ways that we access, and let us feed back to you and let you know how your technologies are affecting people like me. Because I'm not the only person who suffers from psychotic symptoms, especially the hallucinations.
Right.
That's
correct. Yeah, no, you do bring up a very good point, Kat. And, it does make me think about, because I saw that about OpenAI, they're looking to, create their own physical product. One of the things they're looking to do is a smart speaker, and like Nolwenn said, doing physical AI or doing anything along, with devices, there's a lot of heavy costs to that. And, that one of the things that they've been arguing, Kat, is, where are they going to price this smart speaker? And then even if you do price it right, because it has a camera on there compared to my smart speaker over here, which I won't say what it is because otherwise it will go off. But the smart speakers are already out. They don't even have cameras on them, right? Whereas the OpenAI one is looking to have a camera on it. So now we're talking like invasion of privacy. We're looking at when they had the Super Bowl, for example, and they did the whole Ring, super ad as well, where they're like, yeah, you can go and look at all your neighborhoods and stuff like that. People don't want that. People don't want to go, oh, I want to go around finding a dog and then looking everywhere on the Ring doorbells, the door cameras. So, at what point is it like where AI within physical products, like the one I was saying, at what point, A, not only just the cost side and the affordability, but B, also what I think about the privacy side, the invasion, etc., on that side of things too. So I think there's a multitude of areas which we've got to think about here, including governance, compliance, policies, responsible AI, etc. We can chuck a load of other stuff on top of that. But the point is, when you start putting AI into physical items, that's where it gets complicated, especially when you start adding cameras and stuff. So, Stefan, I'm going to bring you into this conversation. I can see you nodding your head. You have so much more ads. So I'm literally just passing the baton to you now, Stefan, and saying, right, Stefan, go ahead, do your thing. What are your thoughts?
I don't get an actual question, but that's okay. So here's one thing. I actually feel like we've passed the point of where we're training AI a lot. I think actually something has happened of an inflection point where AI is doing some training of us, and the cat is sort of out of the bag that cameras will be everywhere. I wish any of us could stop that, or that we could stop the speakers from happening anywhere. I saw a new product somebody was doing the other day. All it is a speaker, this super speaker that can hear everything around you so it can do your work for you. And he said, you can even put one in your nightstand and it can be listening. Who wants a speaker in their nightstand to hear everything, y'all? Imagine that. So, so it goes a long ways. And I like the question she said, what is this for? Number one, I think it's probably not it is a what, but she said, who is it for? I think it's for people at the top who are looking for power, money, and control. And that's also the what. So us coming in here and saying, well, what's my place that I can play in that to be some sort of a connector? One of your questions, you mentioned the word empathy, and I see empathy as sort of caring deeply about somebody, that you feel it for them. And compassion is when you add kind of hands and arms and legs and feet, and you actually do something about that. And in Black AI Think Tank, as well as our national events, we always have people who are battling homelessness in there. Every single time I'll get notes from them. Some of them share their story and stuff. And me doing that on this side, this is my 20th year working in tech and faith missions and that type thing. Well, we decided, what if we just made a website or a tool that connected the homeless to technology and the people that we know? We literally called it Raleigh Homeless. My friends who have cell phones, and almost all the homeless do here, they won't forget that. So take the piece of technology, Raleigh Homeless, nobody's going to forget it, and all of the places that are actually doing work to reach them and connect those two. So it wasn't hard at all grabbing, this is hundreds of places and agencies I've been working at, veterans agencies, housing, food, shelter, and all of that, and people who need their help. And so, use whatever you have on the ground, let it blow up, get larger if it can, scale, but otherwise do what you can where you can. So that's one of the little ways that we're using it at this point, sort of as an answer to a problem.
No, that is, first of all, congratulations, Stefan, on that. And second of that, I think it's superb work in which you're doing, closing that gap, I think is much needed, when it comes to, not only homelessness, but, also like just people that just have problems, like in everyday problems, like even like medical problems, like CAT, for example, closing that gap in any sort of way, shape or form. I love the fact that you're doing that, Stefan. So, thank you for, sharing that with us, first of all, but also kind of, what you're doing as well. So really.
Real quick, let me just say, there's a lady who's battling homelessness right now in Houston, and she's actually doing the same thing from her perspective as a woman who's battling homelessness. She's doing this where she is, and I hope she's going to be able to generate a number of things from it and some things that will help her. But even in her spot, she sees it, and we work together on some of this stuff, and she's developing one for her own city right now.
Well, like I said, thank you for sharing once again, Stefan. And I do want to continue the conversation of, when we talk about empathy, compassion, trust, when we talk about humanity, when we talk about all these different parts, then we're talking about technology and innovation, deep tech, emergent tech, etc. Srini, all of these technologies coming together and all this innovation happening all at once. And by the way, this is not on script on the questions, just FYI. And by the way, panelists, I will ask another question that is not on the card, just FYI as well. But Srini, when all these emergent technologies are coming together like this, what does it mean for both innovation, but also for humanity as well? Like for what you do when it comes to enterprises, businesses, but also for, homelessness, when it comes to, other problems as well. How, from your perspective, how does that come together with all these technologies?
It's actually a very interesting question, Russell. So one thing is the flow is never the same. Okay, it's always different for different groups, different people, different communities. It's never the same. But what happens, these innovation or modern era technologies, it widens the gaps. Okay, it's so much widens in such a way that people are left behind so far, not able to catch up with the other groups which are actually using these technologies or tools and all. So it gives actually two different things. One is, yes, it widens the gap. At the same time, it actually make the actual builders to innovate something. Those are left behind. If we have a true builders in those group, they will find a way to catch up. It's not they need a tool, right? That's where the innovation brings new ideas. Without even these new modern technologies, how do I catch up? How do I innovate and make sure that we are not left behind? So that is one thing which will happen if we leave those groups behind. The second thing is, even though that is happening, as a community or a humanity, we should not leave those behind. Rather, we have to build our culture in such a way that we appreciate those small things. Okay, in this new technology, if somebody say as simple as small thing which they have achieved, you will say, ChatGPT will do it in a minute. Why?
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah, he put the effort and he made it and he gave the outcome. Appreciate that little effort. Don't say that some tool will do it in 1 minute. Yes, it will do it, but as a human, he is learning and doing and bringing some outcomes. So that culture, that appreciation was makes humanity comes forward than these tools.
No, I completely agree, and I think humanity needs to stay at the center of all of this. The last panel that I was listening to, we're talking about our own minds, right, and kind of what we think and what we do and what we say, etc. And people are getting so heavily reliant upon AI now that they're stopping their own thoughts from coming out and making their own decisions and stuff. I mean, I've seen Nolwenn, for example, she's like writing stuff down, thinking of her own thoughts, right? But that's kind of like the old school way of doing it. Now, people these days are just like, oh, let me just type it on ChatGPT. All right, ChatGPT. And now, it's like people are losing their own thoughts and kind of how to do things. So, Srini, you do bring up a good point about the ChatGPT point because, ChatGPT will in a minute, but how about you think about it and then you do it in your own minute, right? And then come back to me with a response. Because then that way, then you're keeping your mind healthy, you're keeping your intelligence healthy, and you're keeping your collaboration also with AI, at a high standpoint, right? Versus you just completely become reliant on it. So Don, let's bring you onto this discussion because you have a very unique perspective when it comes to the creative side, the art aspect, the sort of community aspect to all of this. We've spoke about, physical AI. We've spoken about different communities, right? We've spoken about how ChatGPT is doing everything for you in less than a minute. From your point of view, Don, how do you come at this from a creative lens? As in, how does the creativity indulge and involve within all this from your point of view?
Well, certainly early on, we dabbled with AI to see whether or not it would fit into our production cycle. And I think we walked away feeling that our response to it was no, thank you. That actually the act of creating as a group, we're a small company, we're about 27 people. We love working together and we love collaborating. We're kind of a creative jazz band, that we're an ensemble working on things. And despite the humbleness of our product, a lot of the compliments we get from our players is, why do I feel so good in this space? And my answer is that a human being placed every single thing that you are witnessing. And most importantly, during the act of creating that product, we're creating it for you, not for us. We're creating it. We're all constantly thinking about how other people will interact with and enjoy the thing that we're creating. And then the last piece, I think, is that we're also thinking about how do we share and give permission to the world of creators to make their own. And we hope a combination of sort of leading by example, do what we do. We give you permission to do it, but we also really, really share our process, not to show off our prowess as creators, but to show off how incredibly fun and easy it is to do it for yourself. And I think the world is full of lots of examples where people are telling you the bar is too high. There are free tools. There are opportunities for you to self-express using these tools. And I think in the end, I think the product that people are going to be the most hungry for are the ones that were touched by humans. And as convenient as it appears to bosses to think that they could run a more profitable company without the annoyance of human beings, it's human beings touching things that makes a product that people want to consume.
No, I completely agree. I think, transparency is so underrated and people don't even think, because here's one of the things, transparency builds trust, right? In a nutshell. And if you don't have that transparency aspect in terms of what you do with all the processes and stuff that you trial and error, people aren't going to be able to be educated and learn from your mistakes, so to speak. And then they're just going to go and do it and make it themselves. And it's like, oops, when you could have just, went to use yourself, Don, and went, oh, Don already tried this ChatGPT new tool. Okay, well, we don't need to try that then because Don's already done that. So I think that's so important, that education is very fundamental and important, but also the transparency in which you're doing from a creative point of view is extremely important. So and it also makes me think as well, Don, like the other aspects in the emerging technology as well, like when we talk about AR smart glasses, right? Like when we talk about, these new physical AIs, robots, etc. What is the creativity side gonna look like when all of this comes into play as well over the next few years? That's another whole question in itself. But I appreciate you sharing, Don. Thank you so much. But I do need to get around to Anar, because Anar has been sitting patiently waiting. So thank you so much for being so patient, Anar. And my question to you, Anar, is how can empathy, because we were talking about it earlier with Stefan, how can empathy be employed in the design of tools, platforms, and systems? I think, transparency is very important, but also empathy is too, right? So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Russell. I'm coming from a security background, specifically like AI security. And for us, when we work with our clients, we see a lot of complaints from people and from companies who are actually using the latest AI tools. Is that the number one complaint is, we're feeding a lot of data into those AI tools. We're feeding some private data, some customer data, sensitive data, IP related stuff. So what's happening to those things, right? Once I upload it to ChatGPT or any other public AI model, I don't see what's happening with that data after I upload it, right? Because it's a black box model. You just upload it and then it spits out the output. So we don't have access to that, right? So that's the issue of transparency right now. That's number one. The empathy is from the education perspective. I recently had a friend who had a 7-year-old. They spent like one day building their own AI project, and it was like AI story builder. And it was such a great example of how empathy can be employed in the design of those tools, right? Because those tools are friendly enough to be understood by a 7-year-old. So they just spent a couple of hours and they ended up creating a storybook creator. So you have to upload your images, not images like general images, and then you can create a plot, and then that will create a interactive story, like a visual and audio aspects of it as well. So I think it's great to see that a lot of tools are actually built to be accessible to everyone. So yeah.
No, I agree. I think that empathy is such a. I mean, first of all, I think that's a great example. By the way, that was a really good example. But second of all, empathy is very underrated. As in, you need to be empathetic and putting yourself in someone else's shoes, right? Where are they coming from? What's happening? And then from that standpoint, you can then backtrack, right? Being empathetic as like, okay, this is what they want, or this is how we can help solve the problem, or whatever it is. So I completely agree with you on that. Empathy is extremely important. So is transparency, so is accountability, so is humanity, so there's many other things as well. But I agree with you on that. Empathy and is just so important, and especially from a security standpoint, because you need to understand what your client is going through, especially in the age of AI, and you're thinking about your data. I mean, I have an interesting stat for you. Over 70% of executives within the company can't even explain how the AI made the decision it did, right? So if you think about from that point of view, right, and they don't even know where the data's going, right? Now we've got two problems all in one there, and it's like, okay, well, how can I empathetically make a decision then if I don't even know how the AI even made the decision in the first place, right? So, but yeah. Anyway, thank you so much, Anar, for sharing that. Nolwenn, I'll come back over to you now. There's a lot that's been discussed since obviously we spoke about the physical AI side, or that's what I call it anyway, hardware, if you want to call it, whatever term you want to use. From your point of view, Nolwenn, we're talking about trust, we're talking about transparency, we're talking about empathy, we're talking about all these key things. How does transparency affect trust between innovators and society? Now, this is a good question for you.
Yeah, it's a very big question. I will make a big difference between AI and other products and dependent sectors, to be fair, clearly. Kat, you mentioned you will be in army. So, for example, when we discuss innovation in army, it is generally secret. So very few transparency. Sorry to say that. But
Very
that
true.
is the reality. You agree, Kat, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely, very much.
Yeah. So it depends which sector we consider, to be fair, when we discuss about transparency, because also it is linked to intellectual property. And we have more and more cyber war between, not only between a country, but also between companies in the same country, to be fair.
Yes.
So that is the reality of the economy today and the business world. So we have to discuss about that. So that it is one way, okay? So it depends on the sectors. The other way, if we discuss about software area, not only AI, so I will, it will be larger. We should, as it is mentioned by Kat, by Sereni, by Steven, by Don, and by Ama, to take more and more diverse team and the diverse use case, to be fair. Because behind AI, behind software, it is algorithm, okay? Behind algorithm, it is you and me. So, and we have some bias. So one thing we should, I think, if you try to be more transparent with people who use the tools, it is to explain them that we are human, we are not perfect, so there's some bias also in the tools they use. However, for me, at the same time, it is an occasion, so it is a possibility to help them to increase their competencies on criticism about the tool. Okay. So when you use ChatGPT, DeepMind, Cloud, or any other AI tool, you should take care what the answer is not the truth. It is based on algorithm. It is an average of the solution. So people should understand that they have to increase their competencies to understand better how we can use that. And I guess it is the role of experts who work in AI sector, who work in technology sector, that yes, it is a beautiful tool. It's true. I use it. It's true. Clearly, there is many advantage to use it. But in the same time, we should educate them how to use it correctly in the right way. I think it is my suggestion.
I agree, and I also think, when it comes to the wider perspective of society, we're thinking about, people losing their jobs. We think about, how it's just, changing people's lives in general, whether that's at home. We spoke about the smart speakers before. When we talk about society as a whole, this is changing government. This is changing everything in the way that we live and the way that we do things. So I think it's fundamentally important that we do educate as many people as possible. As Christopher likes to say, the technologist should be educating other people, and I do agree with that. And even if you're not a technologist, I still think you should learn. And I like to say, be curious, right? Ask questions, get insight, get involved, learn, adapt, etc. So when we're talking about society as a whole, and we're talking about innovators and how do we do that that trust between us and that transparency between us, it's from both sides. Society as a whole has to be curious, has to be learning, has to be educating, etc. And then also B, innovators need to be transparent on what they do and how they do things and accountable, etc. and on that side of things as well. Which is why I think fundamentally, and I'm just, again, if you call me biased if you want to, like Nolwenn would say, but from my point of view, this is why verification is so important, because the fact that you can verify in terms of how the model behaves, or verify something real or not, or verify the performance of something, like the robustness, the one that you say, all these are so important. And I think verification and being able to trust the outcomes of those metrics and all that evidence is going to be fundamentally important, which is a part of transparency and accountability. Stefan, I can see you jumping in, so please add to the conversation.
Yeah, I think that trust thing is at the core of all of this, because
100%.
Yeah, people who fear it a little bit, it comes around to trust. It's one of the reasons, y'all, I like to put some of these in the thinking model, because you can just watch it. It's a lot of thoughts that it has, but just watch it go back and forth, sort of see where it's going and how it got that answer. You may not like DeepSeek, but I like the way it does that, and a number of other models. And I think ultimately tools like Perplexity, even when we use other large language models, we love to go back to Perplexity. I don't work for them or anything, but we just like to see the sources, cited there. It's one of the values of it. So is AI trustworthy? I'm just going to say a flat no on that. Are there some tools that we can trust more than others? Yes, but I don't know if I'll ever change my mind. Is AI trustworthy? So I'll stop at that.
No, that's a very fair perspective, Stefan. And that's why I say, this is why verification is, so important, and being able to verify that. But even if you go one step further than that, it's like, one step further is, what is trust? Now, people say trust and throw around the trust term a lot of the time, kind of like how Nolwenn was saying, right? What's innovation, right? But what is trust? Well, trust is basically the belief of the reliability, the reliability, the abilities of the model, right? And also the truthfulness of it as well. So like how Stefan's saying, Perplexity is good because of the truth and the sources that it gets from, right? Is it reliable? Yes. Okay. Is it truthful? Yes. Does it have capabilities, as in all the different abilities that you need to do at a high standard? Yes. Then you can believe in that model, so to speak, right, that it is trustworthy in a nutshell. So to break it down in 3 categories, it is reliability, truthfulness, and the abilities or the capabilities. So, Kat, let's bring you into this conversation. we're talking about trust, we're talking about transparency, we're talking about society. You know, you have such a very unique perspective when it comes to the veteran side. And I know Nolwenn's brought it up, I brought it up. From your point of view, Kat, how do we close that gap between, and this is not written down on the board, so you can't chat GPT this one, but how do we close that gap between the veterans and people like yourself and also AI, like from your point of view? Is it the affordability of products? Is it the affordability of AI, or is it that we need to educate? Like, what is the fundamental part to close that gap from your point of view?
Well, it's never just going to be one or the other. It's not as binary as an or situation, so simple. It's going to be both. We need education, but also we need informed consent. And we need people to be aware of how these systems kind of work under the hood as much as we could and can at this stage in our society. But I think for me, it's going to be my role in all this is kind of to help people like me, veterans, and other people who suffer from psychosis, especially treatment-resistant psychosis, is to create tools. Use XR for good, as they say. Use it, do what I can where I can, and so I'm working on this app. It'll be web-based primarily, but I think the Perceptor app is kind of going to sort of serve a very similar role in my community that Stefan has with Raleigh Homeless, where it's going to be not just a resource tool or locator in real time for people, but it'll also be a real-time, grounding tool. It'll be an opportunity, a feature that allows people like me who are walking through the world, who get up in the morning and they're bombarded by not just auditory noise, but also visual noise, and to help ground and find a clear way through, a clear way path forward through our day, out the front door. In order for me to get up and out of bed, I have to fight my way through lots of voices, and I have to fight my way past through derogatory visual hallucinations. And for many people in our society, that's entertainment. People are trying to pay money to get this experience of the blurred lines between reality, but we don't understand that. I think we are coming to understand that even from ChatGPT as a use case, the AI psychosis thing is not a conspiracy theory. It's a real trend, and it's a concerning one, that people are starting to not know what is real. And so for me, the key is, even though I want people to know what I'm seeing and hearing so they'll get me, so they'll understand, why am I talking to that tree over there, or why am I talking to thin air, or why am I lashing out? It's because I'm having a completely different, I live in a different world. My world is just really affected by my reality just isn't the same. And so when I say perception is not always reality, that's just how it is. So my goal is to shift perceptions of reality, challenge perceptions of what's normal perception to people. But also on the veteran side, there's 45,000 veterans in our country we know about who have schizophrenia. So and that's a community that I can reach with this app, this tool that says, here's something that'll help you decide whether this is real or not. It'll help track your emotional state, but you're going to have complete control over what information it stores, how all of that has to be turned off and on. And as we're going to move into a more augmented reality based society. That's
100%.
where we are.
Yeah,
so
no.
We just need to be able to, kind of like in Minority Report, where you're just bombarded. The guys just run around all over the place on their screens, and they know you and they're talking directly to you. That can be very destabilizing for people who are, neurodivergent, and not just people with schizophrenia. So we just have to remember those people, hold those people in mind when we create this technology, and give them the same dignity to turn that noise off if they need to. And for me, that's my goal too. And even making my technology is keeping my own community in mind. I'm not here to try to make people psychotic or destabilize people who already suffer from psychotic illnesses. My goal is to create a story world, a composite of that's based on the real lived experience of a human being who has it, and then let people, that will foster the empathy. My story is a human story. It's not just a schizophrenia story. It's about perception. And so if I can reach my community through my technology with Perceptor, and maybe that Glassstar story-based element, there's awareness there. And then on the other hand, if there's an actual real-world tool.
Kat, I'm going to have to jump in because we're running out of time. So we literally got 3 minutes left. So what I'm going to do, Serini, Don, and I want to get one word from each of yourselves. What is the one word that you would like to see in the future? So what I mean by that is, what is one word that you would say AI could be? So, for example, do you want to see AI to be more transparent? Do you want to see AI to be more accountable? Do you want AI to be more aligned? I just want to get one word from each of yourselves, and maybe like a kind of like a small sentence why, you know, that is, of what's something that you would like to see for AI from your point of view, Srini.
I would say to be friend for humanity. That's a very simple word, I would say.
I love that.
It's not competition between us and AI. We have to use AI to benefit us, and it's the other way around also. There are other tools which will take our expertise and make the world a little better too. So it's more of a friendship than competition.
Don, over to you.
I would agree with that. I would say partner would probably be a better word, as opposed to, I think someone said that that AI is a terrible creator, but a wonderful intern. And I would like that relationship more than necessarily the other.
A creative partner, Don, right?
Yes.
I don't know, one word, like just one word from yourself, or, you know, one sentence of what you would like to see in the future for AI.
Yeah, I think for me that word is perspective. I think the next breakthrough in AI, it won't come from adding more compute. I think it'll come from adding more perspectives. And we have these amazing tools, and I think we have a great opportunity to bring to life everything that we have in mind, and AI is the perfect tool for that.
Well, that is all we have time for. Thank you so much to each and every one of the panelists. Thank you, Nolwenn, Kat, Srini, Don, Anar, and Stephen, wherever you went. And thank you to each and every one of you. Our Gather was well. And up next, we're going to be having a fireside chat around safety, trust, and responsibility with Eli and myself. So that'll be coming up next for you. And then up after that as well, we also have a roundtable discussion on human possibility, building the generations ahead, moderated by Salvation. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll Gather as well. Goodbye.
Thank you.